So I used to struggle with something really annoying, which is waking up at 3 a.m. and I didn't understand what was the problem. And I thought it was just like that until I started to understand that it's not supposed to happen, and it's not just about my mind racing because it wants to race. It's simply because hormones, and in this case cortisol, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in today's video, which is the 4 main levers that I pulled in order to fix this problem. So if you are perhaps struggling with waking up at 3 a.m. with your mind racing, know that the problem is not just your mind, it's probably related to your physiology, and in this case with your hormones, specifically cortisol. So if you apply these 4 things, I guarantee that you will feel huge improvements, because that's exactly what I started to feel as soon as I fixed these 4 things. So the first thing, let me just prepare here the breakfast while I speak with you, which is, first thing is carb intake. Yes, a lot of people think that carbs are bad. Carbs are not bad. Carbs are great as long as you time them properly. And this is something that goes against the conventional wisdom, which is cut carbs after 6 p.m. if you want to lose weight. That's not actually true. In fact, the best time for you to eat carbs is exactly after 6 p.m., especially when it comes to sleep regulation and sleep architecture. So the number one thing that I change for myself and that I change in my clients' routines that gets them results, and that's the first thing that they start to notice, which is sleep improving and energy, is exactly eat carbs in the evening. And when I say carbs, it's not a bunch of donuts and sugar. It's high quality carbs, such as, for example, some oats, some rice, potatoes, high quality carbs, not crappy carbs. So eat your fruits, eat your sweet potato, eat your normal potato, eat your oats, eat your rice in the last meal. And when I say before bed, it's not like you eat and then you go straight to bed 5 minutes later. You still want to aim for the last meal, I would say 2 hours before bed. So if you sleep at 10 p.m., aim to finish at 8, around that. 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, ideally 3 hours, but I believe 2 hours is the sweet spot. You don't need to go more than that. Of course, it depends on the person. It's not personalized advice. What I mean with this is, with carbs, the thing with carbs is, without being too technical, is carbs increase your insulin. And if you're increasing your insulin, you're decreasing your cortisol. So the number one mistake that I was making was to think that I should cut carbs after 6 p.m. and I would front load carbs in the morning. I would feel lethargic, and then in the evening I would crave carbs, but I wouldn't eat carbs because I thought carbs would be bad for me. And then I would wake up at 2:30, 3:30 a.m. and I didn't understand why. And this is one of the things that I fixed. And basically what happens is that when you consume carbs in the evening, you increase your insulin levels. By increasing your insulin, you're decreasing your cortisol levels. You're going to produce tryptophan, which is one amino acid that will help you relax, which is exactly what you want at night. And it will help you also produce melatonin. So a small portion of carbs in the last meal of the day, a little bit of carbs or rice or potatoes or some fruits, completely fine, and it will help you relax, it will help you regulate your hormones, and it will stop your 3 a.m. wake up time. Which brings me to point number 2, which is this. This that you see here is now, this is one of the biggest mistakes as well that I was making, which is, you all know that cozy atmosphere where you like to sleep in a warm environment and everything, and I used to like that as well, until again I started to understand a bit more about the human body, physiology, started to dive deep in the sleep architecture field, and I started to see that it's actually one of the reasons that I might be waking up at 3 a.m., which is my room is too hot. I used to sleep with, I don't know, 25, 26 degrees, 27 degrees in the summer, like sweating, and I didn't understand why I would wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. So this is something that now I try to control, and this is something that I'm almost obsessed about, which is when I go somewhere, for example, now here I'm in Bali, and my number one priority here before booking was, is the AC strong enough Why? Because I know that if I have good AC, good temperature to sleep, it will literally impact every single thing in my life. It will impact my rest and recovery, it will impact my mood, my libido, my energy, my workouts, my productivity, my business, everything. So a mandatory thing for me is cold room. And what I'm showing you here is 19. So this is for me the sweet spot, 18 to 19, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. So the thing is that if you're sleeping with 25 or 26 degrees or even more, you're still able to sleep. The thing is that you're gonna have more light sleep and less restorative sleep. When I say restorative, is the combination of REM sleep and deep sleep, especially deep sleep. Deep sleep is the phase where your body actually restores. It's the phase where your body releases growth hormone, testosterone, and it's basically where the tissues of your body replenish themselves, where you burn fat, where you build muscle. And by decreasing the temperature in your room, 18 to 20 degrees, you're going to maximize that deep sleep. Now, I'm not saying that you need to sleep freezing, and this is something that sometimes people get wrong, which is I cannot sleep freezing. So what I do is room temperature 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, and then of course I sleep with the blanket and on my sheets and the blanket, and I sleep covered. So I still like to be warm while I'm sleeping. I cannot be freezing. But I need to feel that the temperature around me is cold enough for me to fall asleep and to remain asleep. And this is something that I changed, something that helped me massively in terms of my restorative sleep, my physical performance, my body composition, because I would wake up feeling completely restored. And I actually track my sleep on the Whoop, and I started to feel that my REM sleep and my deep sleep would increase when the temperature of my room was lower. So ideally you want to aim for 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, which brings me to point number 3, which is caffeine. And I am guilty. I used to go to coffee shops and get some work done, and I would be there until 3, 4, 5 p.m. still sipping on my brewed coffee or Americano or my cappuccino, who knows. And I would feel that at 10, 11 p.m., 12, I would be still wired, or I would go to bed and I would be wide awake, or maybe even if I fall asleep faster, 2 or 3 hours later, I would wake up at 2:30, 3:30 a.m. and I didn't understand why. Caffeine has a half-life time of 6 to 8 hours. What it means is that if you're drinking caffeine at 2 p.m., by 10 p.m. you still have caffeine in your body. If you're drinking at 12, by 7 or 8 you still have it. What I mean is you want ideally to cut caffeine consumption after 12 p.m. and that's something that I did myself, which is 12 p.m. I don't drink caffeine, I switch to decaf. So I keep my caffeine intake in the morning 60 to 90 minutes upon waking up, never before, so that I let my cortisol levels increase naturally. And then when my cortisol levels start to stabilize or decrease naturally as the morning goes on, usually after 60 to 90 minutes upon waking up, when that cortisol is going down, then I drink caffeine in order to maximize that cortisol curve and make good use of the caffeine. And this is again a huge mistake that I see in terms of caffeine. So when I started to understand caffeine, the cortisol curve, and how to make good use of caffeine, things started to change completely. I don't even remember the last time I woke up at 3 a.m. My energy is stable throughout the day. Of course, not just because of caffeine, but because of course of nutrient timing, carb intake as well, as I mentioned on the first point. Avoid caffeine after 12 p.m. so that you give time for your body to completely clean that caffeine. Yes, you're able to sleep, but your restorative sleep is not the same. It's compromising your deep sleep, it's compromising your REM sleep. So ideally, cut caffeine after 12 p.m. so that by 8 or 9 p.m. you don't have any caffeine in your body. Which brings me to point number 4, which is perhaps the most important one, and it's actually difficult for me to rank these points, which is morning sunlight. I used to fail over and over, which is I wasn't getting enough morning sunlight, or I would go outside with my sunglasses. So ideally what you want is go outside and expose your face to morning sunlight. So you want to do this within the first 30 to 60 minutes of the day to regulate your circadian rhythm. And the benefit of this is that by regulating your circadian rhythm, you're gonna produce cortisol naturally in the morning. So what it means is that you're gonna, within 30 to 60 minutes, you see bright light, you're gonna increase your cortisol naturally, you're gonna stay naturally awake, which is called the cortisol awakening response. And by missing morning sunlight 10 to 50 minutes without sunglasses, you're also producing melatonin in the evening. So you basically regulate all your bodily functions and all your hormones. So you see morning sunlight, you release cortisol, cortisol awakening response, making you awake throughout the day, preventing energy crashes. And number two means in the evening, when the sun goes down, you're gonna start feeling naturally a little bit more tired and you're gonna produce more melatonin, making you more tired, making you sleepier, improving your sleep as well. You want to make sure that you do this within the first 30 to 60 minutes of the day. For example, now it's a little bit cloudy, so it still has the same benefits. So it doesn't need to be like super sunny. So even with clouds, it's totally fine as long as you see bright light in your eyes. This will have the effects that you're looking for, which is circadian rhythm regulation. It will increase your melatonin levels, your serotonin levels at night. It will prevent energy crashes, and above all, it will prevent the 3 a.m. wake up. And that's basically it. As soon as I fixed these 4, everything started to fall in place. So if you're struggling with 3 a.m. wake ups or energy crashes, I guarantee that if you follow these 4, you're gonna see a massive, massive difference. Now, time to enjoy our breakfast. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao, ciao.